The alert came at 3 in the morning, Earth Standard Time. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his fourth coffee of the night shift aboard Sentinel 7 when every screen in the command center turned red. The defense station, positioned at the edge of the solar system, had been quiet for months. Now, the sensors were screaming. "Sir, we have multiple contacts entering Mars orbit," Lieutenant Karen Scott called out from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the edge of fear beneath it. "They are not responding to hails. Configuration matches Krell warships." Jake felt his stomach drop. The Krell Empire. Everyone in human space knew about them. They were one of the most powerful civilizations in the Galactic Coalition. Humanity had joined the Coalition 15 years ago, hoping for peace and trade among the stars. The Krell had always looked at humans with barely hidden contempt. "Get me a channel to Mars Colony," Jake ordered. "And send an emergency broadcast to Earth Command. Tell them we have a situation." The communication officer worked frantically at her console. After a moment, she shook her head. "Sir, Mars Colony is not responding." "Wait, I am getting something." It is Dr. Lisa Hayes on an emergency channel. Lisa Hayes was the lead scientist at the Mars Research Colony. Jake had met her once at a conference. She was brilliant, passionate about her work, and had a young daughter back on Earth. "Put her through," Jake said. The screen flickered to life. Lisa appeared, but the image was shaking badly. Behind her, Jake could see smoke and flashing red lights. "Captain Morrison, they are attacking us." No warning, no communication. The Krell just started firing on the colony. "We have thousands of civilians here. Families. Children. Please, you have to help us." Jake opened his mouth to respond, but the words never came. The screen went white. Then black. Static filled the speakers. "What happened?" Jake demanded. "Get her back." Karen looked up from her station. Her face was pale. "Sir, Mars Colony is gone. The Krell hit it with plasma weapons. The entire settlement has been destroyed. I am reading no life signs. 12,000 people. Dead in minutes." Jake felt numb. This could not be happening. Not like this. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Krell flagship," the communications officer said quietly. Jake straightened in his chair. On screen, a Krell commander appeared. The alien was tall and thin, with dark purple skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were cold and emotionless. "Human vessel. I am Commander Zaknor of the Krell Empire. Your species has been judged weak and unworthy of your systems. You will surrender all human territories to Krell control within 30 standard days. If you refuse, we will cleanse every human world. This is your only warning." The transmission ended before Jake could respond. Within hours, Ambassador Claire Bennett stood before the Galactic Council, demanding justice. The council chamber was a massive sphere, with representatives from dozens of alien species floating in their designated sections. Claire's voice echoed through the space. "The Krell Empire has committed an act of genocide against humanity," Claire said. 12,000 innocent civilians were murdered without provocation. "We demand that the Council intervene immediately." The Council leader, an ancient being called a Vex, regarded her with what might have been pity. "Ambassador Bennett, the Council does not interfere in territorial disputes between member species. The Krell have acted within their rights under Coalition law." Claire felt rage building inside her. "Rights? They murdered 12,000 people." "The strong take what they wish," another representative said. It was a Krell diplomat. "Your species is young and weak. You should have remained in your home system. Now you will learn the price of weakness." Claire looked around the chamber. Not a single species spoke in humanity's defense. Some looked uncomfortable, but most seemed indifferent. This was normal to them. The strong dominated the weak. That was the way of the galaxy. She opened a secure channel to Earth. "Admiral Gregory Stone, this is Ambassador Bennett. The Council will not help us. We are on our own." On Earth, in the underground facility that housed Space Defense Command, Admiral Stone received the message. He was a veteran of Earth's last major war, decades ago. He had hoped those days were behind humanity. He turned to his staff. Contact the President. Tell her we need an emergency meeting of the Security Council. And send a message to the Krell. Tell them we need 30 days to consider their terms. Sir, are we actually considering surrender? His second-in-command asked. Stone's eyes were hard. No. We are buying time. 30 days to prepare. The Krell think we are weak. They think we will roll over and accept their demands. They have no idea what humans are capable of when you threaten our families. Get me General Frank Cooper. It is time to wake up the projects we kept hidden. The Krell had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked humanity thinking it would be easy prey. They had killed 12,000 innocent people to prove a point. They expected fear and submission. But humanity remembered its own bloody history. Humans knew war. They had nearly destroyed themselves learning how to kill efficiently. For 15 years, they had kept their most dangerous weapons hidden, trying to be peaceful members of the galactic community. That time was over. The Krell wanted war. Humanity would give them exactly what they asked for. General Frank Cooper stood in front of a massive holographic display. Around him, the command center buzzed with activity. Officers rushed from station to station. Communications chattered with encrypted traffic. Earth was mobilizing for war on a scale never before seen in human history. Show me what we have, Frank said to his strategic planning team. Dr. Nathan Price stepped forward. He was the director of Advanced Weapons Development, a division so secret that most governments did not know it existed. General, we have been preparing for this possibility since we first encountered hostile alien life. We have weapons the Krell cannot imagine. The holographic display changed, showing schematics and technical data. First, the railgun platforms. We have 200 orbital stations equipped with magnetic acceleration cannons. They can fire tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy alone is enough to crack a moon. Next, Nathan continued, we have plasma torpedo systems. Unlike alien plasma weapons, ours use contained fusion reactions. Each torpedo carries the explosive force of a small nuclear weapon, but with much cleaner delivery. Frank nodded slowly. And the fleet? Vice Admiral Paul Henderson spoke up. We have 300 warships ready for immediate deployment. Another 200 can be combat-ready in 10 days. We have been building them in secret facilities in the asteroid belt and in orbit around Jupiter. The Krell think we have maybe 50 ships, Frank said. They have no idea. Exactly, sir, Paul confirmed. We let them see what we wanted them to see. Peaceful exploration vessels. Research ships. Meanwhile, we built an actual military fleet. Frank turned to another section of the display. What about ground forces? Colonel Maria Santos stepped forward. She commanded the elite Marine units. Sir, we have 200,000 Marines trained for boarding actions and planetary assault. Our battlesuits are equipped with energy shields and enhanced strength systems. We also have tactical nuclear charges for hardened targets. The President of Earth, Helen Garcia, entered the command center. Everyone came to attention. She was a former military officer herself, which was why Earth had elected her. People knew war might be coming. At ease, Helen said. General Cooper, give me the situation. Frank walked her through everything. The weapons, the ships, the troops. When he finished, Helen was quiet for a long moment. Do we have intelligence on Krell military installations? She asked. Yes, Madam President, a voice said from the back of the room. Captain Nicole Brooks stepped forward. She was the head of military intelligence. We have been gathering data on the Krell for years. We know the location of every major military base, shipyard, and command center they have. Nicole pulled up a star map. Red dots marked Krell positions across 17 star systems. The Krell Empire is actually quite spread out. Their fleets are powerful, but they are scattered. They rely on intimidation rather than actual military presence in most areas. How many ships do they have total? Helen asked. Approximately 800 warships, Nicole said. But only 200 are what we would consider modern and combat-ready. The rest are older designs or garrison vessels. Helen studied the map. They have been terrorizing the galaxy for how long? 300 years, Madam President, Nicole replied. Our records show they have destroyed at least 17 other civilizations. Completely wiped them out. The galaxy just accepts it as normal. The room fell silent. 17 civilizations. Billions of lives. And nobody stopped them because that was just how things worked in the galaxy. The strong ruled. The weak perished. Helen looked at each person in the room. They think we are weak. They think we will surrender or die easily. They murdered 12,000 of our people to make a point. Her voice was cold and hard. I want options for a military response, not a defensive strategy. I want to know how we can break them completely. Frank smiled grimly. We have a plan, Madam President. We call it Operation Hammer. We hit every major Krell military installation simultaneously. We do not give them time to react or coordinate. We destroy their ability to make war in a single coordinated strike. How long to prepare? Helen asked. We can be ready in 20 days, Paul said. That gives us 10 days before the deadline they set for our surrender. Helen nodded. Do it. And I want complete radio silence. The Krell do not find out what we are doing until it is too late. Across human space, the mobilization began. Ships moved silently through space using minimal power. Communication was done by courier ships with encrypted messages. Nothing was broadcast that the Krell could intercept. Commander Amy Richardson gathered her squadron, an elite group of pilots flying the newest experimental fighters. They called themselves the Ghost Squadron. Listen up, Amy said to her pilots. In 20 days, we go to war. The Krell killed 12,000 civilians. They think we are going to surrender. Instead, we are going to show them what happens when you attack humanity. We are going to hit them so hard that the entire galaxy will remember this day. The pilots were silent. These were men and women who had trained their entire lives for combat. Some had lost family on Mars. All of them were ready. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council watched humanity with mild interest. Most species expected humans to either surrender or be quickly destroyed. A few felt sympathy, but none of them would risk confronting the Krell Empire. The Krell themselves were confident. Commander Zach Nor reported to his superiors that the humans were stalling but would ultimately comply. After all, every other species had. What none of them knew was that humanity had learned a harsh lesson from their own history. Earth had nearly destroyed itself in wars. Humans understood violence in a way that most peaceful alien species did not. They knew how to make war total and absolute. The countdown began. 20 days until Operation Hammer. 20 days until the Krell learned that mercy was a choice, not a weakness. 20 days until the galaxy learned to fear humanity. Day 20 arrived with a silence that stretched across human space. Every ship was in position. Every weapon was armed. Every soldier was ready. Fleet Admiral Richard Blake stood on the bridge of the battleship Vengeance, humanity's largest warship. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. All fleets report ready, Admiral, his tactical officer said. Richard looked at the tactical display. It showed 17 different star systems, each one marked with a Krell military target. 300 human warships were spread across those systems, hidden and waiting. Open a channel to all fleet commanders, Richard ordered. Faces appeared on his screen. Men and women from every nation on Earth, united in purpose. This is Admiral Blake. In 5 minutes, we begin Operation Hammer. The Krell murdered 12,000 of our people. They demanded our surrender. Today, we show them that humanity does not surrender. We do not forgive. And we do not forget. Remember Mars. For humanity. For humanity, the commanders echoed. The countdown began. 5 minutes. 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute, Richard said calmly. Across 17 star systems, human warships dropped their stealth fields and opened fire. The Krell had no warning. One moment, space was empty. The next, it was filled with death. At the Krell shipyard in the Theta system, Commander Dan Cross led Ghost Squadron in their attack run. His fighter, Reaper 1, screamed through space at incredible speed. Behind him, 20 more fighters followed in perfect formation. "Targets locked," his weapons officer called out. "Firing plasma torpedoes." Bright streaks of blue light shot from the fighters. The torpedoes slammed into the shipyard's shields. But these were not normal torpedoes. Each one carried a fusion warhead that burned through the shields like they were paper. Explosions rippled across the massive station. "Good hits," Dan said. "Continue firing. I want that yard completely destroyed." In orbit above the Krell homeworld, the main battle began. The Krell had their largest fleet stationed there, 200 warships protecting their most important planet. They scrambled to respond to the human attack, but it was already too late. Richard watched as the orbital defense platforms came online. Massive energy weapons that could destroy a ship with a single shot. Or they could have, if the platforms had survived long enough to fire. "Railgun batteries, fire," Richard ordered. The human ships unleashed their magnetic acceleration cannons. Tungsten rods, each one weighing several tons, shot through space at a fraction of light speed. When they hit the Krell platforms, the kinetic energy was devastating. The platforms simply disintegrated, torn apart by impacts that released more energy than nuclear weapons. In 40 minutes, the entire orbital defense network was gone. The Krell fleet tried to mount a counterattack, but human weapons were superior. Plasma torpedoes found their targets with frightening accuracy. Railgun rounds punched through Krell armor like it was cardboard. Lieutenant Commander Kevin Walsh monitored the tactical situation from the Vengeance. "Admiral, enemy fleet strength is down by 60%. They are attempting to retreat." "Do not let them escape," Richard said. "Pursue and destroy. No mercy." The human fleet broke formation and gave chase. The Krell ships were fast, but human vessels were faster. One by one, the Krell warships were hunted down and destroyed. In other systems, the story was the same. Human forces overwhelmed Krell defenses with brutal efficiency. At the military academy on Krell 5, Colonel Maria Santos led her Marines in a boarding action. They breached the Krell command ship using shaped charges, then fought their way to the bridge. The Krell warriors were larger and stronger than humans, but the Marines wore powered armor that made them stronger still. And humans had centuries of experience in close combat. The fight was over in minutes. "Bridge secured," Maria reported. "Taking control of their command systems now." Her technical specialist worked at the alien controls. "Got it, Colonel. We have access to their military network. Downloading all data now." Across the galaxy, the other species watched in stunned disbelief. The Galactic Council had emergency sessions running continuously as reports came in. The humans were not losing. They were winning. Easily. The Vex, the Council leader, stared at the tactical displays. "This is impossible. The Krell have terrorized the galaxy for 300 years. How are the humans doing this?" A military analyst from the Eric species provided an answer. "Their weapons are decades ahead of ours. And their tactics are ruthless. They are not trying to win a fair fight. They are trying to completely destroy Krell military power. Look at this coordination. They hit 17 targets simultaneously. That takes planning, discipline, and resources we did not know they had." Another council member spoke up. "We thought they were a young, peaceful species." "They were peaceful," the analyst said, "until the Krell attacked their civilians. Now they are showing us what they really are. They are warriors. Maybe the most dangerous warriors the galaxy has ever seen." By the end of the first day, Krell losses were catastrophic. 60% of their fleet was destroyed or captured. Every major military installation was either rubble or in human hands. The Krell Empire, which had ruled through fear for centuries, was broken. And humanity was not finished. Not even close. This was just the beginning. On day 2 of the war, President Helen Garcia stood before a massive viewscreen. Behind her were the flags of every nation on Earth. She had requested broadcast time on every communication network in the galaxy. What she was about to do had never been done before. "People of the galaxy," Helen began. Her voice was calm but carried absolute authority. "I am Helen Garcia, President of the United Earth Government. For 15 years, Humanity has been a peaceful member of the Galactic Coalition. We came to the stars seeking friendship and knowledge. What we found was a galaxy ruled by fear. The screen behind her changed, showing footage from the attack on Mars. Krell warships firing on civilian structures. The colony burning. 12,000 lives ending in fire and plasma. 20 days ago, the Krell Empire attacked our colony on Mars without warning or provocation. They murdered 12,000 civilians. Men, women, and children. They did this to prove we were weak. To force us into slavery. When we asked the Galactic Council for help, we were told this was normal. The strong take what they want. The weak must submit or die. Helen paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. Humanity rejects this galaxy's rules. We will not submit. We will not be enslaved. And we will not allow the murder of our people to go unanswered. The screen changed again, this time showing the destruction of Krell military installations. Ships exploding. Stations crumbling. Fleets burning in space. In the past 24 hours, human forces have destroyed or captured 60% of the Krell military. Every major Krell shipyard has been reduced to rubble. Every military academy has been seized. Their orbital defenses no longer exist. This is the price of attacking humanity. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched in shock. Species that had lived in fear of the Krell for generations could barely believe what they were seeing. Helen continued, I am sending this message to every government in the galaxy. Any species found harboring Krell military assets will be considered hostile to humanity. Any species providing material support to the Krell war effort will face the same consequences the Krell are now facing. This is not a threat. This is a promise. She looked directly into the camera. The Krell have 3 options. 1. Complete and immediate surrender of all military forces. 2. Evacuation of all military personnel from civilian areas. 3. Watch as we systematically eliminate every soldier, every ship, and every weapon they possess. They have 6 hours to decide. After that, we will not accept surrender. We will accept only total victory. The transmission ended. Silence fell across the galaxy. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the 3rd time in 2 days. The chamber that had always been orderly and calm was now filled with panicked voices. The humans are threatening the entire galactic order, one representative shouted. We cannot allow this. Cannot allow it, another voice shot back. What are you going to do? Send your fleet against them. Did you not see what they did to the Krell? The Vex raised a tentacle for silence. The humans have made their position clear. They are willing to go to total war over the death of their civilians. Question: how many of us are prepared to face that kind of response? No one answered. The truth was obvious. No one wanted to be the next target of human anger. Meanwhile, Admiral Stephen Knight commanded the Second Wave Fleet. His orders were simple: find and destroy the remaining Krell military forces. He did not have to look very hard. Krell ships were fleeing in every direction, trying to escape into neutral space. Sir, we have located a Krell battle group attempting to cross into Eric's territory, his tactical officer reported. Contact the Eric's government, Stephen ordered. Tell them they have 10 minutes to deny entry to those ships, or we will pursue them into Eric space and destroy them there. The response came in less than 5 minutes. The Erics would not grant refuge to Krell ships. They did not want to anger humanity. Similar messages were being sent across the galaxy. Species that had traded with the Krell for centuries were now refusing them port. Systems that had allowed Krell military bases suddenly demanded immediate evacuation. The entire galaxy was turning its back on the Krell Empire. Captain Nicole Brooks reviewed the intelligence data coming in. It is working, she said to General Frank Cooper. The Krell are completely isolated. No one will help them. Everyone is too afraid of us. Frank nodded. Fear is a powerful motivator. For 300 years, the galaxy feared the Krell. Now they fear us more. Good. 5 hours and 30 minutes after Helen's broadcast, the Krell Emperor finally responded. The transmission was shaky and desperate. The Emperor, a being that had ruled with absolute authority, now looked defeated. Human President, the Emperor began. We wish to negotiate terms of peace. We are willing to discuss reparations and territorial adjustments. Helen looked at the transmission for a long moment. Then she closed the channel without responding. Madam President, one of her advisors asked. They are trying to surrender. Too late, Helen said. I gave them 6 hours. They used 5.5 trying to find another way out. Now they get nothing. Send orders to all fleet commanders. Continue the offensive. I want the Krell military completely destroyed within 30 days. Major Chris Thompson led a special operations team on a mission to capture Krell military leadership. They found the Krell High Command in a bunker deep underground on the homeworld. The bunker was supposed to be impenetrable. It took Chris and his team 40 minutes to break through. When they reached the command center, they found 24 Krell generals and admirals. The aliens looked at the human soldiers with something humans had never seen in Krell eyes before: fear. You are all under arrest for war crimes, Chris said. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Move. The Krell military leadership was taken into custody. Across their empire, similar captures were happening. The beings who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were now prisoners of the species they had tried to enslave. And still, humanity pressed forward. The systematic destruction of Krell military power continued without pause. The galaxy watched in silence, and wondered what kind of species they had welcomed into their community 15 years ago. 30 days after Operation Hammer began, the war was over. The Krell Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for 3 centuries, no longer existed as a military power. Their fleet was destroyed. Their bases were captured or demolished. Their weapons were seized. Their leadership was in custody awaiting trial for war crimes. Ambassador Claire Bennett stood before the Galactic Council once more. The chamber was different now. Where before the representatives had looked at her with indifference or contempt, now they watched her with wary respect. Some looked frightened. The war with the Krell Empire is concluded, Claire announced. Humanity has achieved total victory. We are now ready to present our terms. The Vex spoke carefully. What are your demands, Ambassador? Claire pulled up a holographic document. First, complete disarmament of all Krell military forces. They will be allowed defensive ships only, no more than 50 vessels total, and those will be monitored by human observers. Second, war crime trials for all Krell military and political leadership involved in the attack on Mars and in the destruction of the 17 other civilizations the Krell have eliminated. These trials will be conducted under human jurisdiction. Third, reparations to humanity in the amount of 5 trillion credits to be paid over 20 years. These funds will be used to rebuild Mars colony and to compensate the families of those killed. Fourth, the Krell will publicly acknowledge their crimes and formally apologize to every species they have harmed. Claire paused and looked around the chamber. And finally, humanity proposes a new protocol for the Galactic Coalition. We call it the Sentinel Protocol. A new document appeared in the holographic display. The Sentinel Protocol states that any unprovoked attack on civilian populations by any member species will result in immediate military intervention by coalition forces. No longer will the strong be allowed to prey on the weak. No longer will genocide be accepted as normal. The galaxy has lived under the rule of fear for too long. That ends today. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species supported the idea. Others worried about the implications. But everyone understood the unspoken message. Humanity was willing to enforce this protocol with military force if necessary. The vote was called. The Sentinel Protocol passed with overwhelming support. No one wanted to be on the wrong side of humanity. Admiral Gregory Stone stood on Mars, watching the reconstruction efforts. Where the colony had been destroyed, new buildings were rising. Humans from Earth and volunteers from dozens of alien species worked side by side. The attack that was meant to break humanity had instead united it with allies across the galaxy. Senator Andrew Miller approached him. Andrew was responsible for coordinating with the new allied governments. Admiral, we have 17 species requesting defensive pacts with humanity. They want our protection against potential aggressors. How many can we support? Gregory asked. All of them, if we restructure our fleet deployment, Andrews said. The Defense Council is recommending we establish permanent peacekeeping forces in key sectors. Show the galaxy that we mean what we said about the Sentinel Protocol. Gregory nodded. Do it. But make sure our people understand the mission. We are not conquerors. We are protectors. The galaxy has enough bullies. Commander Rachel Foster was given command of the 1st Peacekeeping Fleet. Her orders were clear: patrol the neutral zones, respond to distress calls, and show the galaxy that humanity meant what it said. No more would the strong prey on the weak without consequence. On the day her fleet departed Earth, Rachel stood on the bridge of her flagship and looked at the crew. "We are making history," she said. "For the first time, the galaxy has someone willing to stand up for those who cannot defend themselves. That is us. We carry a heavy responsibility. 12,000 people died on Mars. We honor their memory not with revenge, but by making sure nothing like that ever happens again." The crew stood at attention, pride evident on their faces. They were not just soldiers. They were guardians of a new galactic order. Back on Mars, a memorial service was held. President Helen Garcia stood before a massive wall of names. 12,000 names. 12,000 lives that had been taken in an instant. Among them was Dr. Lisa Hayes, the brilliant scientist who had called for help in her final moments. Helen placed a hand on the wall. "You did not die in vain," she said quietly. "Because of you, the galaxy has changed. Because of what happened here, billions of people across thousands of worlds will live in greater safety. The Krell thought they could break us by killing you. Instead, they showed the galaxy what humanity becomes when you threaten our families." She stepped back and addressed the crowd that had gathered for the memorial. Humans and aliens stood together in silence. "Today we remember the 12,000. We remember their lives, their dreams, their potential. And we promise them that their deaths meant something. The galaxy is safer now. Not because we chose war, but because when war was forced upon us, we fought with everything we had." Across the galaxy, species that had once seen humanity as weak now regarded them with respect and caution. The Krell attack had revealed the truth. Humans were peaceful by choice, not by necessity. They valued life and sought cooperation. But when pushed, when their people were threatened, they were capable of overwhelming violence. Aggressive empires that had been planning their own expansions quietly canceled those plans. Pirates and raiders found new hunting grounds far from human space. The predatory species that had thrived under the old galactic order suddenly found themselves facing a new reality. There was now a cost to violence. Ambassador Claire Bennett met with representatives from the weaker species, those who had suffered under Krell domination. They thanked her, some with tears in their eyes. For the first time in their history, they felt safe. "How did you do it?" one ambassador asked. "How did you defeat the Krell so completely?" Claire thought carefully before answering. "We prepared. We planned. And when the time came, we did not hesitate. But most importantly, we understood something the Krell did not. True strength is not about dominating others. It is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That is what makes us strong. That is what will keep us strong." Years later, historians would study the 30-day war between humanity and the Krell Empire. They would analyze the tactics, the technology, and the strategy. But they would all agree on one thing: the war changed the galaxy forever. The Krell learned that unprovoked aggression carried a terrible price. The galaxy learned that humanity was not to be underestimated. And the weak learned that they finally had a protector. Mars was rebuilt, better than before. The memorial wall stood at the center of the new colony, ensuring that no one would ever forget what happened there. Every human who passed it was reminded of the price of peace and the cost of war. And throughout the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings told their children the story of how Earth responded to an unprovoked attack. How humanity struck back with such force that the entire galaxy stood in stillness. How 12,000 deaths were avenged, and how that vengeance led to a safer universe for everyone. The lesson was clear and would not be forgotten. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Do not mistake peace for pacifism. And never, ever threaten humanity's families. Because when humans go to war, they do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for each other. And there is no force in the galaxy more dangerous than that.